everyone, konbanwa. Good evening. If you are in other parts of the country, of the world, I mean not country. I'm sorry. So if you are in other parts of the world, well, a very good morning or a very good afternoon, whichever you just choose. Okay. So first of all, welcome to our second session of MMI Abroad. Woo! So last month, they actually spoke about doing medical electives in South Korea, and tonight I'll be talking about doing medical electives in Japan. First off, I'd like to thank the committee of MMI Abroad for having me today. It is truly a pleasure, not pressure, okay. It is truly a pleasure, okay. So just a brief introduction about myself. My name is Siu Ching, and I'm a final year medical student at Monash University, Malaysia. I went to Japan for 3 weeks back in December 2018 with two other friends, Xiang Xiang and Simran, who would be joining me later today to talk about their experience in Japan. So we were actually at Juntendo University Hospital throughout this period of time. Without further ado, let's begin. And also, if you have any questions at all throughout this whole broadcast, please feel free to drop it in the comment section below, and we'll be actually answering your questions at the end of the broadcast. Okay, to start off, I actually did my electives in this hospital called Juntendo University Hospital. So I'll be actually talking about hospital experiences, accommodation, travel tips, and the application process. So these will be the four main segments that I'll be talking about. All right. Again, if there's any questions at all, just drop it in the comments. Don't be shy. I won't bite you, so just drop it in the comments. I'll answer it at the end of the session. Okay. So first off, we'll start with hospital experiences. So how was I actually did three departments over there throughout my 3 weeks. So I was in rheumatology, internal medicine, and followed by gastroenterology. So each of these departments, I actually spent 1 week in each department. And it was a really good experience, but I won't be talking about my experience because later we will have my friends Xiang Xiang and Simran who will be coming on to talk to you more about that. First off, I would like to introduce this map of Juntendo University Hospital. So as you can see here, there's a few buildings, but the main building that you have to remember is Building 9. So why is Building 9 so important is that this building is where students, international students will actually have their orientation over there. And they normally they have their lockers over there as well. So they will store all their things in the lockers in building 9 before they actually go over to their respective departments. And over there as well, there are a few rest areas that you can actually mingle around and you can meet other international students or other Japanese students who are actually resting over there. So it's a pretty good place to hang out. And of course, you can also have your lunch over there because there's a cafeteria at the basement. So just remember, if you're going to do your electives in Juntendo, Building 9 is a building that you have to remember for that entire period. So what about the other buildings? Basically, for our departments, most of it are actually in Building 1 and 2. So it differs from department to department. It depends on which department you go to. So some of your departments may be in Building 1 and some will be in Building 2. Sometimes they will use other buildings like Building 3, 5, and some other buildings that are not stated over here. But they will actually tell you during your orientation and before you start your department. Okay. So I've actually invited two other people here today who actually went to Japan to actually give you a perspective on both medical and surgical side so that you can actually actually have more view and more opinions on how medical is like and how the surgical department is like. So I would like to first invite Miss Chu Xiang Xiang to actually come on and share her experience with us. So can we have a round of applause wherever you are to invite Xiang Xiang? So come Xiang, join me, join me. Okay, hi Xiang, how are you today? Have you eaten?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, yeah, so it's kind of like alright. So hi Xiang,
Hi.
thank you for coming on today and talking about your experiences. Okay, so would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about how was your experience like in the department?
Okay, so first off, thank you, Xiu Jing. I'm Xiang Xiang. I'm a fifth year medical student from Monash. Xiu Jing invited me to share about my experience in general medicine. I spent about a week's time there in general medicine. And what my schedule is like, basically, we will have to be in the hospital by 9 a.m. every day at the outpatient clinic. We'll be there for about 3 hours until around 12 o'clock. Then we go for lunch, and we have a 2 hour lunch break. So I usually eat in the cafeteria because the food there is a lot cheaper, but Suja will be talking more about it later. So what is really great is that I was there for 3 different rotations, and this is the only rotation where I get 2 hours of lunch break, which is the longest ever. So after that, at 2 o'clock, we go back to the hospital, and then we'll be in the wards. We'll go for inpatient rounds. So what the OPD clinic is like is just like your normal KK or your GP section where you see patients for consultation. Um, what is nice is that the doctors will usually translate for you. So in between every patient, there will be a break where the doctor would teach you and they'll tell you about like, oh, so this patient came for this and this. And if your doctor cannot speak English, they're really nice actually. They would Google Translate for you. And if you have
Yeah.
any questions, that's when you ask them as well. So the most common cases that I saw when I was there is fever of unknown origin and pneumonia. So actually before you start your rotation, right, they will send you an email, and in the email they will have a list of all the common conditions that you will encounter while you're there. So I found it very useful to read up about it beforehand. Okay. So as for the inpatient rounds, it's basically just tagging along for ward rounds. I personally didn't find it as helpful as the OPD time because the doctors are very busy. So everyone is running from one patient to another patient, like literally running. Like we don't even use the lift. The doctors there run down the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one more thing I think about ward rounds is that because general medicine is a very new department, so they have very little patients. Is that right, Xiang?
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
They yeah, they have very little patients as compared to in Malaysia. So and then on Wednesdays and Fridays, we have ward conferences where they will discuss all the more unique cases that we see that week. And my favorite part of general medicine is the private classes that I have with Dr. Deshpande. He is he's born in United States, but he's moved and married to a Japanese lady. He's
Yeah.
been staying in Japan for a long time.
Yeah.
So he can speak really well Japanese and English. So with him, there was no communication barrier. His classes are always very exciting because he doesn't teach all the common conditions that we see, but he teaches us things like the healthcare system in Japan, the culture in Japan, and he answered a lot of questions that I had at that time. For example, why there were more women than men in the department. We also did a lot of comparing and contrasting between the healthcare in Malaysia and in Japan. So like what Sujin mentioned just now, the biggest difference is the number of patients. So that was something that I asked Dr. Deshpande. I was like, why? Because in Malaysia, it's so busy. You know, general med has so many patients, we don't have enough beds. So he told us that in Malaysia, we're trying to be more specialized actually. General medicine is very popular,
Yeah.
but then we're trying to be more specialized. So for example, we have orthopedics, and then you sub-specialize into maybe just doing hand surgeries. But in Japan, they're actually going the other way around. They're very specialized. If you have chest pain, you go straight to see a cardiologist. If you have asthma, you go straight to see a respiratory physician. So to them, general medicine is very, very new. So they don't have much patients. The whole morning, you only see about 3 to 4 patients.
Yeah, it's really little compared to Malaysia. Yeah, and I think that because yeah. So Xiang, so what are the things that one have to take note of if they are doing their attachment or their electives in like general medicine?
I think the most important thing, like when you consider whether you want to apply for general medicine there, is basically the language barrier because it's very different from all the surgical rotations where you get to see surgeries, you get to do procedures and so on. I mean, you get to see procedures, you don't get to do them.
Yeah.
But in general med, it's all just mainly consultation and history taking with a lot of patient contact. And I found it very difficult because I couldn't understand what they were saying.
Yeah.
And over there, there's a rule where you cannot use your phone when the patients are around, even if it's to Google Translate or just Google things, you're not allowed to because it makes the patient feel very uncomfortable. So what I found very useful, I didn't do it, but I think it would be useful if you learn some simple Japanese, like for example, how to say pain, how to say fever, stuff like that. So at least when the patient talk, you'll be like, oh, okay, I don't know what he's saying, but he's here because he's having fever. So that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with what Xiang said actually, because the language barrier really, in internal medicine, you have a lot of talking and communication with the patients. And when that happens, you actually have to know a little bit of their language. So I can only offer you an advice, which is try to learn some Japanese. And for the record, I can only remember pain means itai. No, I mean itai means pain. So I'm sorry. Okay, itai means pain. If you want to know about the other things, it's you can go and Google. So it kind of helps lah. Okay. So thanks for telling us about internal medicine. You were in another department, correct? So
Yes.
what was that department?
I was in plastic and reconstructive surgery.
Okay, wow, big words, big words. Okay, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people would be very interested in
Yeah,
the surgical part, and especially because you went to plastic surgery and that you said, Japan is such a specialized country where they are more specialized compared to us, where we actually see a primary care physician first before we actually get referred to respective departments. So I think it would be interesting to know how your experience at plastic surgery was like. Would you care to tell us a little bit about it?
Okay. I was very interested because in Malaysia, or at least where I am at, we don't get a plastic surgery posting. So it's actually very, very different from general medicine. I went from 1 week of general medicine to 1 week of plastic surgery. So especially in the sense that in general medicine, the timing is very structured. I know what to expect now. I know what to expect after lunch. I know what to expect tomorrow. But in plastic surgery, every day is completely different. Like we don't even have a fixed lunch time. So whenever you're free, whenever you have a bit of spare time, I'll run to the cafeteria and get myself food. So
Sounds difficult.
yeah, so just a tip, right? If you're gonna apply for this, bring some snacks along, especially if you know that will be a whole day of major surgeries. Bring some bread or something there. So if you're hungry, you can excuse yourself from OT and get some food in. Yeah, it's a lot busier and a lot more tiring compared to general medicine. So, but just a disclaimer before I share more. When I was there, it was actually the week where they were auditing the hospital. So they were very busy, and I didn't think I have the most pleasant experience there. Especially because the doctor that I was supposed to be attached to, he was very busy that week. I didn't see him at all. So I went from one doctor to another doctor, and a lot of them couldn't speak Japanese. A lot of them couldn't speak English, so that was a bit difficult. Yeah, but what my schedule is like, every on Monday, same thing, at 9 a.m. I'll reach the outpatient clinic. I'll be there until 1:30, which is a lot longer than general medicine. And then from 1:30 to 5, we will attend follow-up examination of patients. And then on Tuesday, we have to be there by 8 a.m., 1 hour earlier, for morning conferences with other doctors where they discuss all the things, all the new admissions and all the surgeries that are about to happen that week, which I didn't understand at all. Then at 11, we go for ward rounds. Then after that, the rest of the day is surgeries. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is all mainly surgeries, outpatient clinics, and ward rounds. Yeah. So the common cases that they say we're supposed to be seeing there is like facial bone structures, facial bone fractures,
Fractures, not structures.
oh my gosh, burning of skin, breast reconstruction, as well as Paget's disease. But
Oh,
when I
wow.
was but I didn't get to see that. I was actually hoping to.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah.
That's sad.
But I got to scrub in for 2 breast reconstructive surgeries.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so the same question to you as the one in general medicine, since we know that in Japan there's a lot of unspoken rules, right? So what are the things to take note also in plastic surgery, as opposed to like general medicine?
Okay. I think that the buildings are a lot more confusing than other departments I was in. So it'll be very useful for you to look up the map that they will send your email prior to the start of your rotation. So where we have the conferences, where we have the walk rounds, where we have where the OT is at is completely different. And you need to change before you go to OT. And that's in a different floor. So I was very confused there. So I think it'd be helpful if you either go very early on the first day or you go one day in advance just to check yourself out because punctuality is really valued there. So you don't want to be late on your first day. Yeah.
Not only on your first day.
On your every
Yeah.
try. So another thing is that you have to keep in mind that the surgeries can be very, very long. So although they tell you that you end at 5 every day, but that's not for certain. So if you're in a surgery, you might go back a lot later. But if you really want to, you can always ask the surgeons if you are allowed to leave earlier. They should be very nice. And they also say that I can ask for a stool if I'm tired. But I didn't do that because all the surgeons are there busy operating and I'm just standing there watching and I want to ask for a stool. It's quite embarrassing. And I guess the last thing is that there's usually multiple surgeries that are happening at the same time. So before you rush into any OT, you go to the nurses there, ask them like, what's going on today? Which are the surgeries that are happening in which OT? You choose and you select the ones you want to go to, then before you enter. Yeah. So that would be useful.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah. Any last advice for participants? Not participants. I'm sorry, for our audience today before you leave us.
Um, I guess I would say if you're going to be there 3 weeks like I am, get a mixture of medicine as well as surgery. So the experiences are very different. Yeah, so try to get two different types, like not just all surgical or all medicine.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Xiang Xiang, for being with us today. It is such a pleasure, and I'm pretty sure that our viewers will agree as well. So thank you so much. All right. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
if you have any questions at all for any of us, please feel free to drop it in the comments below. All right. Okay. Thank you, Xiang. So, all right. Now we've covered plastic surgery as well as internal medicine. And there's one more department that I would be covering on, although it wouldn't be mainly me, but because I was in this department called rheumatology together with Simran. So we actually did 1 week over there, and it was a really, really good experience. But I will leave it up again to Sim to actually talk about it. So without further ado, can we have Simran on today? Everyone, another round of applause. All right. Hi, Sim. Thank you for being with us today.
No problem at all.
You look really good.
So do you.
Thank you. All right. So, Sim,
Yes.
you were in rheumatology, right?
Yes.
For 1 week together with me.
Yeah, with you.
All right. Okay. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your experience over there in rheumatology?
Okay, so first, just let me introduce myself. So, I'm Simran, and yeah, I'm from Monash, and I'm in my final year as well.
Okay.
Okay, so I did rheumatology for a week in Japan, and the reason why I chose rheumatology was because in Malaysian government hospitals, for the hospital that we are in, which is Sultanah Aminah, they do not have a rheumatology department. However, the dermatology handles some of the rheumatology
Yeah.
cases. So we were not exposed to this department, hence the reason why I chose it. So basically my 1 week in rheumatology, so overall I would say that it was amazing.
Okay.
I got to learn a lot of new things. So just let me give you a brief overview on what we did there. So on the first day we have our orientation, which is where we come in at about 8:30.
Yeah, around 8:30.
So at 8:30 we come in, and subsequently we have a Japanese class, just to give us some brief introduction into how to say good morning, good afternoon, to thank the patients. That was very helpful because I did not learn any Japanese before going there.
But you survived.
Luckily. And so after that, we were given our lunch breaks, and we then, after our lunch breaks, we were told to meet our supervisor. So our supervisor was Dr. Amano, who is one of the professors in the rheumatology department. We were introduced to him as well as a few Japanese medical students who we were attached with for that week. Dr. Amano gave us a tour of the hospital because, as Sushing has mentioned, the hospital is very difficult to move around because there are a lot of
Yeah.
different buildings and you will get lost very easily.
That was very helpful,
Yeah.
I find. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Amano, for that.
Thank you, doctor.
And
You're the best.
so on the next day, we had to come in at about 9 a.m. We were also given pages, so it would be easier for the doctor to contact us in case we get lost or to tell us where to meet him. Yeah, so that was really good as well. And so the next day, we were required to come in at about 9 a.m. and we were required to attend the ward rounds, where we were told to see a few patients, and basically for that day it was just a few cases and not much. And after that we had a teaching session. So the teaching session was mainly conducted in Japanese because the Japanese medical students are not very fluent in English, but however the slides were in English.
Yeah.
Hence it was quite, we could understand a bit of it, yeah. But we learned a lot through the teaching session because as I mentioned, we were not exposed to any rheumatology in Malaysia.
I mean, it was like a very good refresher as well as like a foundation for us to actually relate it to the cases that we saw in the ward, I
Yes,
think. Yeah.
Because we have no particular rheumatology
Yeah,
teaching.
correct.
And then on Wednesday, Tuesday afternoon was our day off, so we were allowed to go back early. Yeah. And on Wednesday, we were told to come in earlier because on Wednesday they have their grand ward rounds. So that is when all of the rheumatologists gather in a particular room and they discuss all of the cases in the ward. So all of the patients are admitted, they discuss the cases on Wednesday morning. And that was hard as well because that was also done in Japanese. But however, Dr. Amano was kind enough to translate every single sentence and explain what was being taught in front. So then again, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
And after that, you were allowed to follow the ward rounds to see the patients. And that was interesting because we got to see many of the cases that
You don't really see
I have
in
not
Malaysia,
seen in
right?
HSA. Yeah. So what I saw was rheumatoid arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, dermatomyositis, Sjogren's, and a lot more actually. So that was nice because he also allowed us to like palpate the patient's joints and allowed us to see the clinical manifestations of that particular condition. So that was very interesting. And after that on Wednesday, they have their conference, which is given by either a drug company or companies that provide equipment for rheumatological conditions. So that is like a sponsored talk to teach the doctors more about the latest developments in rheumatology. And so we were allowed to attend that as well, and free lunch is provided.
Yeah, free lunch. Honestly, that I think that is
Yeah,
one of the
that
best
was the
things
best.
in like rheumatology that
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And then on Wednesday afternoon, they have a conference in which where the doctors who are training to become rheumatologists, they present their research papers. So it's that was hard to understand because it was very complex, but it was nice that we were allowed to join in.
Yeah.
And after that, Dr. Amano had asked us to present more about the Malaysian healthcare system um, to the Japanese doctors and also explain a bit on Malaysia and our culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next day on Thursday, on Thursday we had
On Thursday, I think we had another ward round.
we had the plasmapheresis teaching.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So
Yeah.
on Thursday, what we did was we were taken to the plasmapheresis department. So there the medical technician who does plasmapheresis actually explained to us regarding how the procedure is done, showed us the equipment, and showed us patients who were undergoing plasmapheresis at that time. So that was interesting to watch. And yeah, Thursday afternoon was a free afternoon. And
Again.
a lot of free afternoon.
Yeah.
And on Friday, we had to come in because Dr. Amano asked us to do a small quiz. So basically, it's just an open book test, and in which he just wanted to see how we understood what he had taught us during the week. And so after completing the quiz, we just had to submit it to him, and we were off for the weekend. Yeah, we had the rest of the day off, and yeah, Saturday, Sunday are off days. And the good thing about Juntendo is after finishing every posting, um, you are you are given like a certificate which shows that how you've done in that particular posting. So it basically grades you. So it's a good learning point because it tells you like in which particular skill you're lacking in, whether it be communication or knowledge,
Professionalism.
professionalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is helpful, and I'm sure it's good for your CVs in the future as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, Sim, thank you for sharing with us like how your experience was like over there. But would you have anything, in rheumatology, is there anything that one should be aware of, when they are doing their electives over there?
So mainly, what you should be aware of is, I think before going for the posting, what you should do is you should just read up on the basic conditions. I think a list
I
will be
think
given.
rheumatoid, they didn't really give us a list, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, they gave us a list.
Mm.
But I would say that the common conditions, the number one condition over there would be rheumatoid arthritis. Two-thirds of their population actually have, I think two-thirds of the patient who comes into the
Also
rheumatology
rheumatoid arthritis.
department are rheumatoid
Mm.
arthritis. And then probably it will be dermatomyositis
Mm.
as well as Sjogren's, right?
Yeah, a lot of them.
I think that those are the main conditions. Yeah.
So basically, I would say just read up a bit because when you go there, sometimes the professors like to ask you questions. So yeah.
Yeah, you get drilled,
Read
but
up a bit.
they are very nice. And I think overall, how would you summarize your experience at rheumatology?
Overall, it was an amazing experience. I would love to go back, and
Would you do it again in rheumato?
I would do it again. Rheumatology is very interesting,
I would too.
and I would like to maybe explore more departments. But one thing I would do, I think that I would take note before going the next time is maybe learning a bit of Japanese because that's really a problem. Like it can be frustrating because you do not understand what's being told. But luckily, I mentioned that we had a tutor that was really amazing who actually translated everything for us. So yeah, I think overall it was an amazing experience, and if any of you have the opportunity, please do go.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much,
Thank
Sim,
you.
for being here today and sharing with us about rheumatology. Yeah. So, if you all have any questions at all for me or for Sim about her experiences, she's a very shy person, but just feel free to bombard her questions. Okay, I'll get her to answer it, and yeah, if you have questions for her, she'll be on again. All right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Bye
you so much, Sim.
bye.
Bye bye. You might come on again if there are questions for you. All right, yeah. So that was Sim with us. So thank you so much, Sim, for actually sharing her experience of rheumatology with us. And yeah, even from my side, I really think that rheumatology department was really amazing because we had someone to translate everything for us. And even though it wasn't 100% of the experience that probably you would get in maybe in Malaysia due to the communication barrier, but I would say it would be already around 95 to 99%. So thank you, Dr. Amano, and thank you to the Japanese students who actually assisted us throughout the way because it was amazing actually meeting people from different culture. So that's all for the hospital experience sharing from Sim and Xiang. But before we end this segment, there's actually a few things that I would be talking about as well. So this would be an example of the schedule. So this schedule is actually based on my rheumatology schedule, and Sim has actually talked about the schedule before. So, but a thing to note would be that you normally start around 9 a.m. and you end around 5 to 6 p.m. It depends on what you have on your schedule on that day. However, this is, I would say, for the medical side. For the surgical side, as Xiang has actually mentioned, your schedule is actually very unpredictable, and due to the surgery hours, it would probably take very long. but they normally will allow you to actually leave early. So that is how the schedule is normally. Alright. And next up, these are the departments that is available for you to actually choose. So there's a lot in this list, but I won't go through it. And these departments are actually listed in the documents that I'll be talking about in the application process segment. Okay. Just some things to take note is that, as you can see here, I've actually attached a neurology part of the application part and the department. So basically there's like they will actually tell you the time periods that these observerships are not available, the minimum duration to be spent in that way, that department, and the maximum one, and prerequisites. So the prerequisites, sometimes it will be like fourth year, you should be at least in your fourth year, or like your third year, or your fifth year. So an example, but however, you have to take note that some of the prerequisites are actually not in, or they've actually edited it and they didn't update the application guide or the department guide. Because when I actually applied for neurology, uh, over here they didn't state that you have to be in which year of your medical school, but when I applied for it, they actually sent me a reply saying that it's only for final year medical students. So make sure you have a few backup options for the departments that you would like to go to. Okay, so this is what I was saying when I said that, like, you know, the departments and the applications. So everything is actually in this department guide and the application guide, which I will be talking about in the application process part later. Alright. So that's all for the hospital experiences part. So if you have any questions regarding hospital experiences at all, just feel free to drop them in the comment section below again. And I'll be answering them at the end of the session. So we have three other segments left today, which is accommodation, travel tips, as well as application process. Okay, so let's talk about accommodation. So where did I actually stay? You know, how, where are you going to stay when you are actually doing your electives over there? So I've actually compiled two main options. One is the dormitory that the hospital or the university will offer, and one is Airbnb. So I'll talk about the Airbnb first because I think that is, you know, everyone knows what is Airbnb. So for Airbnbs, it could be very cheap if you book very early. So it can be as low as 40 ringgit per night. So this was actually, I got this information actually from a friend who actually went before me, and she actually got an Airbnb which was around 40 ringgit per person per night. Also, you could actually find around Ochanomizu area because it will be walking distance to the hospital. So, an address has already been put at the first page of this presentation. So you can actually look at that and see what are the neighboring areas so that you can choose a place that is nearer and it's easier for you to walk because it's better to save up on transportation so that you can spend it probably on eating and whatnot, you know. Okay. So for the dormitory part, it is actually subjected to availability and it's normally given to you, the options are given to you by the hospital. So at that time, they only gave me one option, which is dormitory Sendagi. There's another option that wasn't available when I applied, which is L Espoir, as written over here. However, when I went to Japan and I met other international students, they were actually staying at L Espoir. So L Espoir is slightly more expensive than dormitory Sendagi, but some things are included, like such as the hot water, and it is also nearer to the hospital. So for dormitory Sendagi, the rent was pretty cheap. It was about 1,000 yen per day, which I would say amount to about 38 ringgit to 39 ringgit per day. And this includes the utilities. But one thing is that hot water is not included. And if you want to use hot water, you would have to buy it at a counter at the lobby. So it would be 1,000 yen for 50 liters. So whenever you actually go to the machine, it's like a vending machine. So you put in your money and you get 50 liters to your unit. and outside your bathroom there's actually a meter that will calculate that would tell you how many liters are left, and how many liters are left, and you would know when to top it up. So when I went, it was during winter, so I had to actually buy the hot water. And if you're wondering how long that 50 liters would last, for me it lasted about 3 weeks. So for that 3 weeks, I didn't finish my 50 liters. I used about 1.5 liters uh, per shower. And however, my friends finished their 50 liters in 2 weeks. So it really differs on how much water you use, okay? Uh, and if you want to wash your clothes, there will be coin washers down there, and dryers. So it will be on the ground floor, and you can just put 100 yen it's 100 yen per wash and per drying. They also charge you for linen, but linen is really, really cheap, and they only charge you one time. So this is a address, and you can actually put into your Google Maps and check how far it is to the hospital and whatnot. And I would say the traveling time to the hospital is about 30 to 50, 40 minutes. On Google Maps, it is actually stated about 20 minutes, but just a tip that whenever you search something in Google Maps in Japan, try to add about 10 to 20 minutes to that time given, because there's a lot of walking involved, and basically sometimes the train may be late. It's very rare, but sometimes they may be late, and they are very punctual, the train, so you may actually miss it and whatnot. I actually took 20 minutes to walk but it's really, really like, maybe it's dependent on how long your legs are, because my leg is pretty short, so I use a longer time to reach the hospital. And also ration some time to go to building 9 to put all your things, because you would have to do that before you go to all the departments. So I actually talked about El Espoir just now. So the difference here is that the rent is a bit higher, but hot water is included, and the traveling time is about 10 to 15 minutes walk. So you wouldn't have to take the train. Okay, so just to show you how dormitory Sendagi looks like, this is the outside of dormitory Sendagi. It is located in an alley, so it's very easy to miss it. But if you know how it looks like, then you will not miss it. Okay, so this is how it looks like, and this is how the rooms look like. So you get a single bed, and as you can see, all the cupboards, the drawers, they can be open, and over here you can actually open it to become like a tabletop for you to put all your things, your laptop and whatnot. You would have to bring your own hangers, or you can buy it over there because they don't supply it. But there's a lot of compartments for you to put in, so you don't have to worry. Just bring all your clothes. Bring your whole house over here. Probably it will even be enough. Okay, and this is the kitchen. So over there, I didn't really cook, and they didn't because they didn't really provide cooking utensils, and I didn't want to buy my own because I was only there for 3 weeks. But you can cook, and there's also a fridge over there, so you can store all your goods and your food. We normally go to 7-Eleven to actually buy some food and put there. And in dormitory Sendagi, we had to buy a filter to attach it to the tap. So because it was a relatively older building, so after we attach the filter, you can actually just drink from the tap. But for newer buildings, you don't have to actually use the filter. So this filter can only be gotten from 100 yen shops. And as you can see there, that's the toilet. Now I didn't take the meter outside, but there was a meter over there, which showed you how much hot water you have left. Okay, so that's all for accommodation. Again, if you have any questions at all, just drop it in the comments below. So we've actually talked about hospital experiences as well as accommodation. Now we'll go on to travel tips. And I know that a lot of people are normally excited for traveling, right? So you may think that one of your questions would be, would you have time to travel? So the answer is yes, but it depends also on your schedule, and you have the weekends as well to travel. But just a reminder that if you're going in winter, the place Japan usually gets dark around 4 p.m. So try to start your journey early and end it early as well. And the attractions over there also, and they close a bit early, so 4 5 p.m. So start your day earlier. They normally open at about 8 a.m. Okay, so for transportation, it's a very important thing over there in Japan. So basically, as you can see on the right side, there's the Suica and Pasmo card. So this card can be used to, it's like our touch and go over here. So you can tap it at buses, train stations, and if you use it a lot, I think there's a slight discount whenever you use the Suica or Pasmo card. Uh, I think I bought it, but after that I realized that there was another option which was probably a bit better. And that would be the ones that I'm showing over here, 24, 48, and 72-hour tickets. So these tickets, basically, let's say if I take the 24-hour ticket, so I'll get that 24 hours for free to travel around in subways. And the 24 hours start from when you first tap the ticket into this subway stations. So it's pretty useful. However, the downside is that you have to buy the tickets again when it finishes. So let's say after 72 hours, it will expire and you won't have the free access anymore. So we'll have to get it again. And these tickets can only be you can only get it at bigger stations like Ochanomizu and other more main stations. All right. Okay. So I've talked about like but however this is based on my experience, and probably you could, before you go over there, you could probably calculate a little bit on which one is more worth it, and then only you go and get this. Okay. All right. So whoa. Okay, so yeah, this is the subway map in Japan. I know it looks a bit confusing, and no, not a little bit, but it's a lot. It's very confusing. So yeah, how are you going to navigate? It's so many stations, and they're still adding lines to this subway map actually. Don't worry, I have a solution for you. Okay, so there are actually some useful apps that you can use in Japan. So the ones that are circled in red are the heavy use ones, and the ones that I recommend that you have in your phone. Okay, so this is Google Maps. If you're an iPhone user, you can use Apple Maps. It's equally as good. So for Google Maps, they'll actually show you how long it gets. So over here, I put like dormitory Sandagi to Juntendo Hospital, and they'll show you how to walk and which station to get on, as well as which line to get on. And if you want to actually, have a fast exit, they actually even tell you which train to board. Like over here, you have to board the 10 car. And one good thing about Google Map is that they show you what time the trains come. So you can see on the right side over here, like 5:11, 5:23, all those. So you can actually ration your time on what time the train is going to come. And it's normally pretty punctual, so just be there when it comes up. Okay, this next one is Google Translate. Yes, you need it if you don't know Japanese. So it's very useful. And one tip is that if you want to ask questions, you just omit the pronoun. So let's say, where do I, no, where do I go? So you just say go where, that kind of thing. And then they'll actually translate it to the proper Japanese sentence. Okay, so that's one tip. And I think this is really, really useful. It really helped when we had language barrier and we were trying to ask for directions, as well as certain terms when we were in the hospital as well. So this is the Tokyo subway app. Remember that horrible, confusing looking subway map. So this app will actually help you a lot. You just put in which station you're going from and to which station. So and they'll actually, the thing that I like about this app is that they actually tell you how long it takes from one station to that station that you're getting to, whether there are any transfers at all, and how much is it. Okay, so as you can see here, Sendagi is C15 and Shin Ochanomizu is C12. So you know that it's 3 stations apart. Okay, it's simple math if you're wondering. So 15 minus 12, yes. Okay, next up, this few apps that I'm going to talk about is I didn't really use it in Japan, but I found some blogs that actually recommend the usage of this. Okay, so for Dig Japan, you can actually they actually show you like some attractions and all those, and let's say if you're in Akihabara, what kind of attractions are over there, and if you're in certain areas, which attractions to go to, and there's even a Google Transit direction where you can click and they'll link you to your Google Map and show you how to go to that place. This other app, Japan Official Travel app, shows a lot of things, like all the guides, all the travel tips, and also the weather in Japan. So for the weather, it's very important for you to check before you actually go out, because Japanese normally check the weather before you go out, and if it rains on that day, then they'll normally be bringing their umbrellas and whatnot, and you'll be wondering, why are they bringing their umbrella? Okay, so you don't want to be the odd one out. All right. But however, these two, Dig Japan and Japan Official Travel app, I would say it's up to your own discretion whether you want to download it or not. And this Klook as well, I'm pretty sure everyone knows about this. So Klook, there's like certain things that you can buy on there, some tickets and all those, which may be at a better price. But I would say that I didn't really use Klook throughout my trip. I actually went to the main website and it was cheaper. So make sure you actually compare before you make any purchases. Alright, so that's all about the apps and travel tips. But before I end the travel tips segment, there are actually some unspoken rules in Japan because due to their culture over there and everyone is polite and they're a bit paiseh. I don't know how to say it like in English, but they're a bit paiseh. So so there are some things that may help you if you're going to Japan. So the first thing is that whenever you meet people or you want to ask them a question, you just say sumimasen, which means excuse me, and before you ask your question, and at the end of it, you can just tell them arigato gozaimasu, which means thank you. So that would actually help you with your communication with the Japanese. The second thing is that don't eat while walking over there. It's not like the pasar malams over here where you can buy and then just walk around with food in your hand. So over there is actually a no-no. And I was actually, there was actually a story about this. I went to a cheesecake shop and I bought some cheesecake. And Xiang Xiang and I wanted to eat it outside the cheesecake shop, but then we were stopped by a Japanese woman like, no, 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 you cannot eat it here. So we had to go into an alley and eat our cheesecake like, robbers. So, well, just it's good that they don't scold. They are pretty nice about it. But it's good that if you know about this and you can take note about it. Okay, the third thing is that on the trains, try not to talk on your phone. If you're making a call, try not to make calls or like answer calls on the train. If you want to use your phone and all, it's okay, like text and whatnot. And if you want to talk to your friends, you can do it quietly, but the phone, the calls, try to avoid it. Okay. And last thing I would say is that in Tokyo, everyone walks on the left side. In Kyoto, everyone walks on the right side. And when at the interchange station, people just walk everywhere. So whenever you just follow whoever who is walking somewhere, who knows what they're doing, who look like they know what they're doing, okay, and you'll probably be safe. So that's all for the travel tips part. So now I'll be talking about the last segment, the application process. So if you have any questions at all regarding any of the segments before this or even the application process, just feel free to drop your questions in the comments below and I'll be answering them soon, right after this application process. Okay, so for application process, I'll really run it through really fast. So if you have been convinced by me to do your electives by this moment over here on this dot at 9:19 p.m. Okay, let's go into the application process then. So this is the website where you can actually apply for your elective, and they have a lot of things on the website, so it's pretty complete over there. there's a lot of information, and they also tell you like when is not a good period to apply. So like over here they said that the Olympics will be taking place, so just make sure that you know about this, because the accommodation and all will probably be very expensive. Okay, and they won't really encourage you to do it. Probably sometimes the cases will be lesser. And like for our experience, the last week of December, they won't allow any electives at all. And for us as well, the second last week of December, they were having an audit. So they actually reduced the number of cases and procedures. So like I was in gastroenterology department, but I didn't get to see much procedures because they actually reduced it a lot due to the audit as well. Okay, so step one, read the application guide. So there's this department guide and the application guide over here. Everything is inside, but try to apply at least 3 to 6 months before, to give yourself a bit of time to get everything ready, to get your air tickets and whatnot. Okay, so this is the flow chart, and they'll tell you how to apply, how to get your documents ready, and what to do. So step two, prepare the required items. So like the ones in red, the red stars and all the get from, you know, all the red words over there, those are the ones that you should get first, because that requires a little bit of time to do. So like for number 6, uh for medical, you just get it from your unique guide or your university curriculum, and for like number 7 and 8, you can put it in the letter of recommendation. And for uh, number 9 and 12, that would require you to require some time as well. Okay, so this is the application form. You will put all your department options in and why you want to go there. This is the letter of recommendation, where there's a lot, you can just write it out and provide it to your tutor or your supervisor to write it. Your health examination certificate, you write it out, give your GP to sign, and these are the immunization requirements. If let's say you are unable to complete it before you submit it to them, there's this page over here where they'll actually allow you to write when you'll be receiving the next vaccination. Okay, and if you've completed all this, then the last step would be to send the email to this email over here, attach all the documents, and they normally reply really fast. But however, you just need to know that sometimes there are updates or edits that are needed for your application. All right. Okay, so that's all from me about all for my presentation. So thank you so much for staying with me until now, if you still are. And now we'll go into the Q&A session. Yeah. Okay. So question number 1. Okay, I don't know who is this from, but okay. So question number 1. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. When applying to this university, can we straight apply to multiple departments? Okay, thank you for the question. So when you're applying to this uni, you can actually apply to multiple departments. However, it's not like within that 1 week you can go to multiple departments. So for me, I actually applied to 3 departments for 3 weeks. So I spent 1 week in each department. So for the first week, I spent it in rheumatology. The second week, I went to internal medicine. And the third week, I was in gastroenterology. You can also choose to spend like 2 weeks in one department. So example, if I wanted to, I could have spent 1 week in rheumatology and 2 weeks in internal medicine. So it depends on what are your interests and how long you want to actually have your exposure in that particular department. All right. So the longer it is, probably you have more exposure. So for gastroenterology, I would recommend 2 weeks. But for rheumato and internal med, I would say 1 week was sufficient for me. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. And the second one, how much is the total cost excluding travel? I would say the total cost would be a few thousand ringgit at least, maybe about 5,000, because I was there for 3 weeks. And let's see, if I subtract everything, I would say about 6,000 to about 7,000 for the total cost. For if it's excluding travel, oh yeah, okay, I would say about 5,000. So a lot of the cost actually went into food food over there is really expensive, and it's normally a little bit hard to find cheap food. So if you want cheap food, you can go to 7-Eleven and get their box lunches and all. And if you want it to be even cheaper, then there would be it's better if you go to like local groceries which are not like branded like 7-Eleven and like the other big grocery stores. Okay. All right. So next question: is it easy to make friends with the local students? Yeah, they're pretty friendly, so it's pretty easy to make friends with the local students. However, they are a little bit shy. So Japanese students are pretty shy, and they normally because they are not very familiar with speaking English, so they are normally very shy when you speak to them in English, and they only had like 6 years of English education. So that's why it may be a bit hard to get them to open up and speak to you at first, but just be a bit proactive and they'll be very responsive to you. They're normally very helpful. So don't worry, just use your Google Translate and everything will be fine. Okay? Is there a limit for the number of students they will pick from each university? Yes, there is. If I'm not mistaken, there's only 5 students from per time that they'll 6 students, sorry, 6 students that they will pick from each university. So make sure you just coordinate with your batchmates or like your friends if you were to apply at the same time. All right. How are the doctors and nurses there? Are they friendly? Hmm. Yeah, they are. But I think it also differs from department to department because when I went there, the doctors were really friendly and the nurses as well. So they'll try to help you as much as they can. And like Sim has actually mentioned, Dr. Amano was really nice and he actually translated everything for us as well. So I think that was a big plus point. Okay. Were there patients that seem reluctant with medical students being there during their consultation? Uh, yeah, good question. So yes, there were certain patients who would seem really reluctant with medical students being there, but normally the doctors will actually explain it to them, and they would normally be okay with it. But if they really mind, sometimes they may ask you to step out, which I think we can just comply because uh, patient consent is still utmost priority, right? All right. Okay. And but however, don't worry, it won't really affect you because when I was over there, patients were pretty okay with us sitting in and listening to consultation and whatnot. Do we need to pay a tuition fee for the electives and how much is it? Okay, so the good thing about going to Juntendo University Hospital is that there's no tuition fee needed for your electives, so it's free. However, you have to bear the cost for your accommodation, for your accommodation, your food and whatnot. Okay. Did you do your electives during your year 4 or during the holidays? Okay, so I did my electives during the holidays because in Monash we don't have an elective component. So I actually did my electives after year 3 when I was going into year 4. So during that time I had like 2 months of break. So I actually used that time to go and do my electives. All right, okay. I think that's all for the questions. All right, thank you so much for tuning in with us today. And I really appreciate everyone listening to me and giving me all these questions. And I would also like to thank Xiang and Sim for actually coming on and sharing their experiences with me. Remember to just tune in next month. So for next month, MMI Abroad would be bringing in a speaker who went to UK for his elective. So make sure you just stay tuned and tune in. So now Xiang Xiang and Sim, shall we just come and say goodbye? Yeah. Wait. Come over here.
Thank you guys for
Thank
tuning
you.
in.
Bye bye. Have a nice day.